Have you ever noticed that when something feels uncomfortable, your instinct isn't always to step back? Sometimes it's to move closer. Curiosity doesn't disappear in danger. In many cases, it gets stronger. And in trading, that's where curiosity becomes dangerous. In this episode, we will look at why that happens. You are listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. I am your host, Agnieszka Wood, a trading mindset coach and a seasoned day trader with over a decade of experience. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of psychology and the human element of trading. We take a deep dive into different perspectives to inspire you and help you navigate the emotional ups and downs of trading with self-compassion and confidence. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, this podcast is your trusted companion providing support on your trading journey. Get ready to boost your confidence and unlock the secrets to mastering your mindset for success. Welcome to episode 73, The Dangerous Side of Curiosity in Trading. The other day, I went to the botanical garden and I saw a warning sign. Be aware of alligators. I have lived in Florida for 13 years and I've seen those signs so many times that I usually don't even register it anymore. I just walk past. But this time, something caught my attention. There was a guy standing near the lake, and instead of walking away from the water, he was actually trying to get closer, right where the sign was. And I remember watching him and thinking, what is it with people that they like to push their luck? Why, when we see danger, do some of us feel the urge to move closer instead of backing away? And that moment stayed with me because I realized this is exactly what we do in trading. Often walking on the edge of what's safe and what's dangerous, being curious, waiting just a little bit longer to see what will happen next, or feeling the adrenaline of breaking the rules and hoping for the best. And it hit me that a lot of bad trading behavior, it's an expression of what we also do in our daily lives. And that's when I started wondering, is this self-sabotage or is this something much more human? So I did some digging, and here is what's really interesting. As a trader, you expose yourself to the risk of losing money if the plan doesn't work out, right? This is your own request. It's your conscious decision when you decide to become a trader. And when pressure rises, your instinct does everything it can to avoid that risk. And this shows up in so many different ways. It shows up as removing your stop, like adding to a losing position or holding to a loser, not taking trades that you planned for and then just watch them work out. Here's the thing. By trying to avoid risk, by running away from danger in trading, we actually expose ourselves to even bigger danger, bigger losses, more stress, and jeopardizing all the effort that we put into it. It's like running away from an alligator that's chasing you and jumping straight into a lake full of alligators. You don't want to lose money, and then you end up losing more than you were trying to save in the first place. That's your fight, flight, or freeze response trying to protect you. But in trading, it often gets you hurt even more because it makes you act irrationally, at least in trading terms. Because what would be rational in life is very often not rational in trading environment. It wouldn't be a very rational decision, for example, to get a job where you know you're going to be losing money, right? That's why trading requires a very different set of mindset skills. Most traders think that there's something wrong with them when they struggle in the market, when they lose their gains, when they can't stay consistent. But the truth is, you are just being a human. You're doing very human things. But trading is like living on the moon. You need to learn how to survive on the moon. You need to adapt. You need skills and mental fortitude to live in an environment where most humans never even come to visit. So going back to this human fascination with coming very close to the edge of the cliff, or, just simply looking danger straight in the eye. Are we opportunistic? Are we stupid? Do we want to hurt ourselves on purpose? For many traders, it can really feel like we are hurting ourselves on purpose. That's why we talk about self-sabotage. And you know what question I hear over and over again? What is wrong with me? Why do I do this to myself? And I asked myself the same question for years, because when you put all the effort to stick to your plan, when you live like a monk for a month following your strict routine, and then on the very last day, you lose all the money you made that month, and only because you couldn't handle a loss, or because you just needed 50 more bucks to make a 10K month. That sounds like a crazy person, right? Because who would do something like that over and over again? Well, the answer is simple. A human, a normal person who did not have the proper training to trade, period. And I'm talking about training your mind, acquiring proper skills that help you go against your natural human instinct. Skills that help you do what firefighters do, run toward the fire while everyone else is running away. So here is what's really interesting. This isn't random. It all comes down to how someone is wired to regulate arousal, control, and uncertainty. And people differ in how much stimulation their nervous system prefers. So some people are high sensation seekers. They need stronger input to feel awake. Danger feels stimulating, engaging. Curiosity overrides caution faster. Other people are low sensation seekers. They get overwhelmed more easily, and danger feels aversive. Avoidance kicks in early. And this is important. High sensation seeking does not mean reckless. It just means the threshold for curiosity is lower. There's also the balance between dopamine and threat sensitivity. So some brains are more driven by novelty, by learning and exploration. Others are more sensitive to threat detection and avoidance. So if dopamine activation wins early, then curiosity leads. And if threat activation wins early, then avoidance dominates. That's why one person sees a danger sign and walks away, and another feels the urge to look closer, understand, and confirm. Your identity plays a role as well. People who see themselves as capable, observant, self-reliant, people who believe I can handle myself, are simply more likely to approach danger out of curiosity. Not to prove something, but because competence under pressure is part of who they are. You see this a lot in entrepreneurs, traders, and high performers, and people who have overcome adversity. And here's the counterintuitive part. Warning signs don't always reduce risky behavior. Sometimes they actually increase it. A warning sign doesn't just warn, it directs attention. Your brain reads, this matters, look here. The sign doesn't calm the nervous system, it activates it, which means more focus, more curiosity, and more urge to resolve uncertainty. And ambiguity makes it worse. The warning sign doesn't say, there is an alligator 3 feet from you right now. It says, alligator area. And the brain hates incomplete information. It's like gasoline for curiosity. So it asks where, how close, now or sometimes. Is it real or theoretical? Then there is psychological reactance when we are told, don't go closer. Part of the mind hears, your freedom is being limited. Maybe you exactly recognize what I'm talking about. It's not conscious. It's not dramatic. It's very quiet, just a quiet, let me decide. And if the sign looks old, if others are nearby or nothing bad is happening right now, the brain starts thinking, if this was truly dangerous, it wouldn't feel this normal. And familiarity gets mistaken for safety. Remember, curiosity is fast, wisdom is slower. Curiosity is energizing and action oriented. Risk evaluation requires pause, context, and emotional regulation. And under arousal, your brain defaults to just check. That's the exact moment traders break rules. And it's rarely one big leap, it's small steps, micro justification, it's incremental boundary erosion. And each step feels harmless until suddenly you're too close. And once you have approached danger before and nothing bad happened, your confidence increases and vigilance decreases. Curiosity turns into entitlement. I've done this before. I know how this works. That's one of the most dangerous psychological transitions. At its core, curiosity about danger is often about control. Looking feels like knowing. Knowing feels like safety. But here's the paradox. The need to reduce uncertainty can actually increase risk. Speaking of alligators, I want to tell you a story that really happened. A few years ago, my husband and I went kayaking and we planned a longer trip. So we rented kayaks that were faster, but not as wide as the ones we were used to, which, as I found out later, also meant not as stable. And the route took us through a river out toward the ocean and back. And along the way, we passed several alligator warning signs. But honestly, that didn't really stress me out. Alligator signs are pretty normal sight in Florida. So we were enjoying the serenity, the weather, the surroundings, looking around with a little bit of excitement, actually. Maybe we would even spot some gators. After several hours on the water, we were just around the corner from the dock where our trip would end. And there were very heavy mangroves there. And instead of going around them, I noticed an opening and I thought, I'm going to go just right through there. In my mind, I saw myself leaning back and sliding just right under the branch, almost like a hula move or something out of the Matrix. I would just simply bend and glide under it. But at the very last moment, I realized the branch was much lower than I imagined. And my head made me a little bit too tall. So I leaned to the left. And that's when my kayak flipped and I landed under it. My husband was behind me taking pictures and later said, you were there and suddenly you were gone. And a second later, I shot out of the water like a wine cork. And in that moment, it hit me. There could be alligators in this water. And my eyes must have been full of fear because my husband rushed toward me and I could see on his face how terrified I looked. Without even thinking, I tried to climb into his kayak and immediately flipped his too. So I saw his phone flying out of his hand into the river. And now we were both in the water with upside down kayaks and left to the mercy of nature and alligators. So we had to act fast. The water was dark as hell, and who knows what was in it. So we decided to climb onto one of the upside down kayaks. And my husband did it first, sitting on top of it, trying to keep it stable, his legs still in the water. I don't think he was actually worried about alligators at all because, in fact, he said, thank God nobody sees us. We would end up on Stephen Colbert's show as the crazy couple in Florida. I could not believe he was joking. So picture this. It was a scene from Titanic, except Jack is sitting on the floating piece and I am laying on my belly, desperately trying to keep my legs out of the water. Somehow we managed to flip both kayaks back over and make it safely to the dock. We were completely fine. Nothing bad actually happened, except that he's found with the footage of my unsuccessful Matrix move, and his glasses are probably still down there in the river. But nothing happened in real life. But my nervous system didn't know that. So for over 2 weeks after that incident, my head was playing out different scenarios that never actually happened. And my body was reacting as if they did. I felt scared. My heart was pounding. I was waking up sweating in the middle of the night. What if there actually was a gator? What if he attacked us? Again, nothing happened in real life, but my brain and body were reliving, or rather projecting, a moment that could have happened, along with all the emotions that came with it. This is exactly what happens when you imagine or tell yourself stories about things that haven't happened and might never happen. And this is the missing link when we talk about discipline, because discipline doesn't break at the level of behavior. It breaks at the level of internal state. The moment your body reacts to a story as if it were real, your nervous system shifts. And from that state, different decisions suddenly feel necessary. Will those things happen? Maybe. But when you live inside a story about what could happen, your body starts acting as if it already is. And that's when discipline starts slipping. Not because you don't care, but because you're trying to regulate discomfort, not execute a plan. That's the real question for traders. What story are you telling yourself? Real or imagined? And how is that story shaping how you feel? And therefore, the decisions you are making in your trading. Discipline doesn't break because people don't care. It breaks because curiosity steps in before awareness does. And the body reacts to a story instead of the plan. So ask yourself, what danger do you move closer to? Not because you want risk, but because you want certainty. Where do you tell yourself, let me just check? Not to gather information, but to soothe discomfort. Is your curiosity serving learning, or is it trying to calm your nervous system? You don't need to eliminate curiosity, but you need to decide in advance what curiosity is allowed to touch. That's maturity. That's discipline. That's emotional mastery. Thank you for listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. If you are enjoying my show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell me what you like about it. Thanks to you, more traders will be able to find me, and together we'll make a bigger impact. So thank you so much. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. And make sure to also check some of the previous shows. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Agnieszka Wood from Ahead Coach. Bye for now.